Hello, Mana TV viewers. Welcome to Healthy Life the Vegan Way. I'm your host, Kalindi. Healthy Life the Vegan Way is a series in collaboration with World Vegan Vision, a non-profit organization whose mission is to encourage people to a more kinder and compassionate way of life. They do this by spreading the love for veganism, a vegan lifestyle, vegan diet for your health, for the health of animals, to reduce animal cruelty, and for the conservation of our planet. Today, we are back with Dr. Shah, Dr. Shrenik Shah, and Ms. Neetu Jindal. Dr. Shrenik Shah is the president of World Vegan Vision, and Ms. Neetu Jindal is the secretary of New Jersey chapter of World Vegan Vision. For those who are new, Dr. Shah is a physician in internal medicine. He has been practicing over 35 years. He's vegan. He has been vegan for over 20 years. And throughout his journey as practicing physician and also being vegan, he has sort of spread this love for veganism and spirituality to so many people around him. He empowers his patients to understand the importance of diet and lifestyle. So he teaches them a very unique way to change, to reverse, manage, or prevent disease, changing your diet. The love for veganism, the love for whole food plant-based diet. That is something very unique that Dr. Shah has taken this approach. He strongly recommends a vegan lifestyle to, not only manage disease, but also for a healthy body and a healthy soul. Now, Ms. Neetu Jindal is an attorney. She is, as I said before, the secretary of New Jersey chapter of World Vegan Vision. And she has been a vegan for last 24 years. She adopted veganism to stand up for those unheard voices, to stand up against animal cruelty. As a college student, she had been exposed to a video about atrocities on dairy cows, and that actually, she went through complete transformation after that. Overnight, she decided to become vegan, and there we are, 24 hours later, she's standing strong. And she has pursued this passion, pursued this path She has become an animal rights activist. She volunteers her time, exposing cruel factory farming practices, engages in a lot of outreach activities, and spreads the awareness about veganism. Her mission in life is to create a kinder place for animals. And she has a 9-year-old son, Nirvan, who she has raised vegan. And Nirvan also shares love what the mom, from mom. And he is also a young animal activist. Welcome, Neetu, Jindal, and Dr. Shah, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you, Kalindi.
So, viewers, last week we touched upon a very, sensitive topic, a very gruesome, actually, practice. Dr. Shah, Neetu, and we spoke about is factory farming, and that is the main cause of animal suffering and animal abuse. The silent victims, the animals, are subjected to heinous treatment. We shared, Dr. Shah shared so many graphic images, so pictures to show the actual truth. And I remember a phrase that comes to my mind right now. If slaughterhouses had glass walls, all of us would have been vegan, right? All of us would not even think about touching any animal meat or any product coming from animal. These animals, we just have objectified them into meat, milk, eggs. For their birth, from the birth, their fate is determined to end up on a plate, just to satisfy human hunger and human palate. So today we are going to continue our discussion on, the same topic, and hopefully you will, at the end of the discussion, this will take you to a different level of understanding, where actually what you think about meat, what you think about your glass of milk, what you think about omelette, that actually comes from. So Neetuji and Dr. Shah, if we can, start the discussion where we left off last time.
Yeah, we were, I think, talking about the factory workers, and that's one of the most, must be one of the most gruesome work to deal with, because I'm going to share. And this is where the whole discussion had come up about the workers. And like I mentioned, the people working at the end of the day, with dealing with such more cruelties, at some point they wake up and they really feel. But besides, that's just the psychological, ethical, moral issues that we're talking about. But that's not where it ends. Apparently, Kalindi Ben, about the rate of injuries and loss of fingers and things like that. Tell the viewers something more about it.
This, what you said, Dr. Shah, this topic you started with, it's the dark side of factory farming.
Yes.
The human beings that are involved in the process. We might think of this process as evolved, like, robots and machines handling animals and, all these animals put on conveyor belt. But unfortunately, still till date, most of the work on these factory farms is done by human labor, by brute force, by manual labor. The animal agriculture industry, which is predominantly, multinational companies, multinational giants, they profit from exploiting both animals and humans. And there is no difference there, okay? The animals are treated in the same way the human labor is treated there. These humans include factory workers, slaughterhouse, people were workers in slaughterhouses, people working on meat packing plants. They're exploited in every possible way. The working conditions are so poor, so bad, so unsanitary. They get very poor wages for working in traumatic places, doing dangerous tasks, and, as I said, often very unsanitary conditions. We spoke about it. Neetu said, Dr. Shah said, like, animals are standing in their poop and pee all day, and they're huddled together. The amount of disease you can imagine, a human also can contract from there, right? And then they are cutting, chopping huge knives. In fact, like Dr. Shah was mentioning, the article I had read, actually, it was an investigative article in The Guardian. It said that 2 amputations per week is the cost of working in a US meat plant. 2 amputations.
Wow.
So, Yeah, indeed. You're talking about your patient, right, Dr. Shah, who was.
Yeah. And he had to go on, no question about it. So it's unfortunate, and I can understand the psychology of the owners of the butcher industry, slaughter industry, that because they are so used to treating the animals in such a cruel way. So I cannot really imagine that they will have any more sympathy for the workers, which are working at a very low wages. So they probably would not be considered pretty much anything different than the animals which are being subjected. It's not exactly the same way, obviously, but as far as the cruelty, uh, not caring about them and not caring about their suffering or their own psychological impact, none of those things will come into the picture because in America wants and the whole world wants 99-cent burgers. How do you think it's going to be created by the low wages? And the atrocities of the human side is something that we have to wake up from. So the animal cruelty is not just animal cruelty, it's also human cruelty too.
These people actually go through a lot of depression and PTSD
Correct.
because
Yes.
if you're standing in blood, knee deep in blood, and
Yes.
everything else, like all the gore, right? I
Yeah.
mean, some people can't even watch gory movies.
Yeah.
It makes them throw up. But
Right.
when somebody's standing there day in and day out, and they are doing things that I don't think anybody else wants to do, right? And everything is done on a very fast pace.
Right.
So they don't even have time to think. It becomes second nature to them. They become immune to or insensitive to all of this that's happening to the animals. Unfortunately, many times within the slaughterhouses, there are sexual abuse happening to animals. There was this one thing I read. I'm reading this book actually. I just happen to have it right now in front of me. It talks about this person who wrote the book had been working in a slaughterhouse before he turned vegan, and he actually saw all of this with his own eyes, and he said 1 in 5 workers had one or two missing digits, like they would miss one finger or whatever, and it was okay. It was supposed to be just okay, considered to be normal you
Right.
know and if somebody felt sick about all of this, the smells and everything, he was laughed at to say, why are you so sensitive? They become extremely insensitive, which is not normal for human beings. It is not normal for human beings to be standing in all of this, doing all of these things to animals and be okay with it.
And these are dangerous tasks. It is, at the end of the day, these animals have also in such a confined situation, and they are also probably are more aggressive when they are released from there. So to handle that.
In my school life, I know we had a field trip, believe it or not, to a slaughterhouse. It's something like that probably will never be allowed in US, but in India, I did go to a slaughterhouse, and the cows were tied with the legs on one side with the ropes and all that, and their carotids were slashed. The blood will be flowing freely down onto the ground, and the kids will be running like 7, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old kids walking, running back and forth with the buckets and buckets filling up them with the blood. And as they are collecting the blood, as the more and more blood is disappearing, the cows' eyeballs are literally coming out. They're becoming almost getting unconscious from the lack of blood supply to the brain. And there was a big drums sitting outside the factories. They will go and dump the blood into that. And I asked them, what do they do with that? Also, there is a market for that. Also, they make albumin and plasma extracted and
Right.
a lot of those kind of things that's there. So it's very unfortunate. That scene still stays in my mind. And I don't know why I didn't become vegan at that time. Maybe I was too young to associate those two things, unfortunately, but I wish I was vegan at that time. But it's never too late for anyone to become vegan. It's really something to wake up from. Animal cruelty is one of the worst heinous crimes the human beings have been doing it. I can understand there was a time that was all needed by now, but now the farming techniques and grain production has reached to its peak, and we can produce a lot of grains and a lot of fruits, vegetables. All these things are available, and we have become more intelligent. More machines are created, so there is really no need to kill the animals.
Now the lab grown, right? The whole industry, is emerging with lab grown meat.
Yeah.
And the plant-based industry has also gotten so close to creating products which resemble the texture, the flavor, right? So if you miss the texture, you have an option. If you miss the flavor, you still have an option. So there is no reason.
The lab-grown meat, I can understand there is no cruelty involved, but it's still not healthy because of the high cholesterol content and all that. So let's move on. And
yes, so on the next, that brings us to the next topic. Most people currently the trend is, okay, people are getting more and more aware about the detrimental effects of red meat. So they're giving up, a lot more people are giving up red meat, beef, pork, because of the environmental impact also of what these, the factory farming and the environmental impact. But what these individuals are doing is they're substituting it with fish. Now they're looking for oceans to feed them. The question is, do the oceans have endless supply of fish? And no matter how good their intentions are, is it cruelty-free? What do you say, Dr. Shah?
Before we go into the fish, I think Neetu would probably want to talk about the sheep and the goat.
Sure, Neetu, go ahead.
So these are her slides and she had collected those. So what do you say, Neetu?
All of these animals are just as badly treated, like these images are not
very graphic,
better, any better than the ones we had for the cows and for the chickens, So it's so important for people to see these things. I was thinking, being a vegetarian all my life, I was thinking I'm not doing any cruelty to anything. I had to see a video in order to wake up from it. Therefore, we're showing you all these graphic images, and thank you, Mana TV, for allowing us to show what the real picture is and not sugarcoating things. Sometimes it's so important to see the real thing to make the right choice. And trust me, I come across so many vegans, and all of us, including myself, have said at some point in our lives, I could never go vegan. So if this is the way the animals are treated, this is a sheep, a goat. People love, especially Indian people, they love the kebabs. I mean, they smell really good and look very good, but we don't see that animal behind it. Would you, if you were to actually take a knife and cut the throat of this goat yourself, would you do it? I don't think so. You wouldn't. But when it comes cooked and flavored and whatever else, we really jump at it. I know of people who love kebabs and who think of the vegan kebabs as something bad. Like they think, why even eat it? But, I wouldn't eat it. I don't care about the taste. It's just that if you have options available, why would you want to be cruel to this animal? You can see how sad she is.
I had one secretary, she was working for me. And again, she was used to eating out a couple of times a week in restaurants. And of course, she ate meat and everything else and all that. So I asked her one question. So I said, on the weekend, you can go for pick your own apples. Do you have any place where you can go and kill your own chicken? Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Okay. So there is a guilt factor in it. But unfortunately, we hide those things because we like this thing so much. But like kind of creates an image of the pleasure associated with those foods. And in that image of the pleasure, we bury the compassion. And that's where the unfortunate part is.
We turn a blind eye to that, right?
Yes.
I think people, human beings are kind of put off by blood, right? I don't think anybody, like if it was a carnivore, if it was a lion or a tiger, the smell of blood actually makes them salivate. It makes them want to go for that kill. Whereas for humans, the moment we see blood, we just feel like throwing up, or we feel like staying away from that. Oh my God, I cannot see blood. I know so many people who won't even be able to give blood in blood banks because they feel the sight of blood is so gruesome. But we don't think twice. You could say the same thing, but go out and eat an animal which had blood running through their veins without even thinking about it.
Yeah. So now we have the pigs, the same. Look at this injuries to the pigs, how much suffering they have to go through.
Do you know pigs are smarter than 3-year-olds? They're smarter than your dogs too.
Yeah, correct.
They're very smart animals, and I've seen people who have rescued pigs The pigs would be just as, happy and expressive as the dog, And I don't know why we kind of disconnected from that and just thought of this as bacon. Unfortunately, as a vegan, I always get these comments, like when I post a picture to say, this is not required, go vegan. Somebody will say bacon though. Like
Mm,
it's a very popular comment on my posts. But we don't see what these animals have to go through. As you see these cages, do you even see a place? They cannot even turn their head to look
no.
behind them.
Just one
You know,
position, they have to stand all the time.
correct. And imagine that kind of life, just standing in one place, not having to move, not being able to move.
This is all because it's all supported by our desire for foods like this. So now we'll go down to the
Yes, let's
seafood,
talk
seafood
about
industry.
right.
So we are literally raising the ocean floors to get our supply of the fish. I heard that the real good fish, you cannot catch it until you go 200 miles off the shore. And nobody does that. I think several years back, I think it's close to 10 years back, three biggest fish suppliers were found catching the fish from the Hudson, which is full of polluted chemicals coming
Yes,
from the factories and all that. And they were serving in the top-notch Manhattan restaurants. People were paying $80, $100 a dish to catch that fish. It's unfortunate. So along with the fish comes a lot of polluted atmosphere, and the worst damage that comes in, because oceans are just like rainforest. It's almost like going into rainforest and catching whatever you want just for your consumption. How long is that rainforest going to last? The same way ocean is carrying such a beautiful array of flora and fauna, and all these things are being destroyed. So for our desire for the fish, and we are made to believe that fish is healthier uh,
right.
than the beef, and
Beef.
chicken and fish is okay. I tell people don't eat meat, so I say, oh, can I have chicken and fish? No, fish is also not healthy. Fish is high in mercury, and that's why it's not even allowed for a pregnant women. They tell them not to eat the fish. But that's not where the product. The fish is also high in cholesterol. Fish oil is high in cholesterol, and we think that we are doing something good for the heart. Yes, it has omega-3, but there are a lot of plant-based substitutes available for omega-3. So there is really no need to consume fish. But that's not the only thing. But we are here talking about the animal cruelty, what actually is going on in the animal industry, especially the fish industry. Let's see. Neetu?
Yeah. So as you can see, I don't think I would like somebody putting a hook through my lip and then then saying, I'll take the hook off, you're okay to go. I don't think that's right. So when you pull the fish out, this is just the individual fisherman, right? We're going to talk about the trillions of
Let's
you know
know.
the football size trawlers, but
Right.
this is just individuals, right? So there's a whole concept about catch and release. We're only doing it because it's fun, but
Yeah.
the animal actually
It's
suffers so much injury that
correct.
she cannot go back to being the same animal as before. They usually bleed to death, or the blood draws the predators, and they get eaten very easily. They
Yeah.
become slower, whatever. So they become prey to the other animals.
So it's
In
fun
the
to the human beings, but it's the life for the fish.
Exactly. And we spoke like this in this picture, you can see the fishing nets, right?
Yeah.
And there are people who will tell you that, oh, pollution, like, the only thing that's polluting the oceans is the plastic straws. There's a whole movement going on about don't use plastic straws. But nobody talks about the fish in the whole process. The biggest the polluter of oceans is the fishing nets, the pots that go in it, and the lines. Do you know
Yeah.
how many? There's 640,000 tons per year is
Yes.
thrown in the ocean, and nobody talks about it. And that's what is polluting. So all these animals get caught in it. There are big animals, small animals. They badly get caught in all these nets. That is a side thing. But even the plastic is making dead zones in the ocean. They're killing the ocean slowly. These dolphins get caught in these nets. So what we are doing, we are just polluting the environment. We are depleting the ocean. There was a talk about by 2050 we will not have any fish in the ocean. Unfortunately, the number has gone to now 2048.
Mm.
Can you believe our oceans with no fish? What are
And
we doing? An ocean is 70% of Earth.
Yes.
these are they call the bycatch. This bycatch is astronomically amount of fish are and the dolphins are all discarded because they really don't need them, and they are not discarded alive. A lot of them die in that process, and they're just thrown back because there is no market for it, and they get caught in the fishing nets and things like that. So it's very unfortunate, and otherwise they could be roaming so freely in the vast ocean, which occupies 3/4 of our Earth's surface. But here they have no roaming at all because of these big fishing trawlers. I don't know if you have watched the Seaspiracy, the documentary on Netflix. It's amazing. I was so shocked to realize that these trawlers were these nets. They are nowhere near like ordinary fishermen used to throw the nets and catch some fish for himself or the family and sell a little bit and make a living. But no, these are like big fishing trawlers. The nets which are thrown onto the oceans are so big, so big. They say almost as high as a Capitol Hill building. It can take the whole building into it. So, and then they raise the floor of the ocean. So whatever comes along the way is caught into the net. And it's
Most of
really
it is thrown
unfortunate.
away.
Yeah, 20,
Most of it is
25% of the fish is useful, 75% is all destroyed. And this is one of the worst damage that is being done. Actually, after the watching that Seaspiracy, one of the wholesale suppliers, South Korean wholesale supplier for fish, he gave up his business. He says, if this is what is I'm really living on, I don't want to do this business. It's very unfortunate.
I'm glad some people are waking up.
It was an eye opener. And this is it's again the lot of the Oriental places, countries, they look for the fin soups and the sharks. For them, the fins are the most important because that makes them elegant and navigate into the oceans and catch their food itself. And all these fins are useful. The sharks are not. So all they do is take the fins out, make the soup out of it. They serve it in a top-notch restaurants. And meanwhile, these sharks are lying on the ocean floor where they become victims of the tiny creatures that she used to hunt. It's the tables turn around because of the cruelty conducted by the humans. Look at this.
Also, we are talking about like the big animals. Like, see, this is a shark
Shark
fin.
fin.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. It's just so unfortunate. And the plastic net again, it really rips through the delicate skin
Yeah.
of the birds.
And even like because the big mammals all get caught in those big nets. What happens is we're shaking the food chain over here, right? So with the big mammals gone, all the big fish gone, they're the ones below them, they kind of become they start to multiply, and
Yeah.
that causes all of this havoc in the ocean. So the balance of the ocean gets up and down. So those animals cannot survive like that. You know, in order to hunt one, we are killing so many others.
They have now plant-based options available even for the seafood, and from shrimp all the way to the fish to the octopus and whatever. So they have all these replacements are available. I think the people should start switching. They smell like a fish, they taste like a fish, but they are not a fish. So plant-based options are easily available. So I think people should start looking for that options.
And if you're worried about your omega-3s, flax seeds, green leafy vegetables,
Chia seed.
soya bean,
Right.
all of that gives you omega-3 in abundance. I mean, you don't need the middleman.
And
You
they're
don't need this fish.
and they're high in fiber and they have zero cholesterol. But the fish is high in cholesterol. Half a fillet of salmon will give you 112 milligrams of cholesterol. 1 tablespoonful of fish oil has 109 milligrams of cholesterol. Why do you need all these things?
Right.
Right.
And the fish fin cutting is just so atrocious.
So this picture is about, this is the shrimp. It's called the eye stalk aberration.
Uh-huh.
There's a name for it, which is very sad, actually. So what this is doing is they're taking the eyeballs, they're cutting the eyeballs off of the female shrimp so that she can reproduce faster. Wow. So she doesn't have a choice.
Mm.
And this is done industry wide. When they put a name to any practice, you have to understand that that means it's very prevalent. It is a
Correct.
common practice.
Correct.
How could you cut the eyeballs of an animal so they don't see what they're doing and they reproduce faster, just so that we can eat?
Who
You know, it's
in
very
their mind, who in the right mind would have discovered that cutting the eyes would make them produce more babies? It's just amazing how far we have gone for our profits.
And
See,
similarly,
this is
like,
exactly that. The shrimp industry cuts off the eyes of the females to make them breed faster. The industry calls it eye stalk ablation. And it's sad. Like, what are we doing? You know, we can eat so much healthier and eat so much variety, but we just want these few animals and we just keep hunting them and hurting them.
the same ones over and over again, right?
Exactly.
It's also just like factory farming. There's fish farming. There is aquaculture. It's the same thing, you know, growing at a faster rate.
And all the seafood, and especially shrimp, are very high in cholesterol. And the people, I have said that in the earlier lectures, that once you eat even a single meal of a seafood or any other food with the cholesterol that is extracted, it runs in your blood for 6 weeks. And I had proven it through patients' repeated blood tests and things like that. So it's not really worth it. There is no advantage of eating fish at all, or any kind of seafood.
And they're actually just as sentient as dogs and cats and cows, and they feel pain, they feel fear, they feel all of those emotions. Unfortunately, just because we cannot hear their screams and
Yeah.
they die a very slow, painful death, we don't really relate. We think, oh, it's okay, you know, it's the lack of oxygen. But imagine lack of oxygen. I mean, it's like too much of oxygen for them, lack of water. Imagine somebody takes oxygen out of your environment. The death would be so painful. It's the same thing for them. They have families. They can communicate with each other across the ocean. You know, we forget how advanced their systems are,
Right.
just because we don't hear them screaming.
Yeah, whales have a very sophisticated way of communicating. So these are very advanced animals, but we just don't care.
Highly intelligent animals.
Oh yeah, they have pain receptors. They have neural pathways. All of that stuff that we have.
So this is the lobsters.
Right. Boiling the lobsters, right?
Yeah, hurts me so much because these lobsters are caught in the winter time, and they are put in refrigerators, like with rubber bands on them, frozen. They're alive, but they're frozen. And when they're ready to be consumed, that's when they're taken out of the refrigerator and thrown in the hot boiling water. What kind of, I mean, what makes us think that it's okay to do? To take a living animal frozen, you know, who's alive, feeling everything, and then taking it and throwing it in a hot boiling water just for taste? How does it justify at all?
We need to wake up. We need to wake up.
Absolutely. And it's a delicacy. People love eating lobsters.
That's right.
And this is, like we said, this is the bycatch. So a lot of birds, sharks, dolphins, turtles are caught in these nettings just for our desire for the fish. And this is the last slide. How gruesome, we want to talk about it, Kalindi?
Yeah, this is actually a very recent. Last week, it was in the news on an island, Faro, I think is the name of the island. There was either a sport or a ritual. They killed about 1,500 dolphins. 1,500 dolphins for a sport or maybe a ritual. And I mean, you can just look at the picture and see the blood everywhere.
So sad, so sad.
It's coming of age of men to show that you are manly enough to do this.
Yeah.
I don't think by killing something you show that you're a man.
What do you gain? Because they're not gonna be able to consume any of these things. 1,500 dolphins.
Right.
It's just fun.
What the article said, that this sport it's a common sport, but not to this extent. It has never gone to this extent. It was shocking when we all realized that this is how much they killed. You know,
blood in the ocean. Look at how much blood there is.
It's so sickening. And so innocent animal, they could be traveling in pods and open ocean, and now they are just dead. It's sad. It's really sad, and eye-opener for the people who are consuming. these products, we really urge to reconsider. And going vegan, whole food, plant-based diet is one of the most innocent and one of the most healthiest diet in the world. This is the only diet will teach you compassion, and compassion is the only solution for cruelty. Cruelty we have done enough, but we have yet to show the compassion. So I really encourage to really search your soul and really go deep down within. And every glass of milk you drink, every chicken wing you order, think about a life that is behind.
What a wonderful ending, Dr. Shah. What a wonderful statement. So, friends, we end today's discussion, and I leave you with a thought. The food you buy or the food you eat is a choice that you make. It's a conscious choice that you're making. So, making more conscious choices points to the idea that you are choosing food with a lower environmental impact. It's made by people who are, treated fairly or in good, ideal working conditions, and consciously avoiding food that comes from animals. After all these, after these three different segments where we showed you so much cruelty, so much atrocity, heinous treatment to animals, to living beings, to these sentient beings. And not even just animals, even the human beings who are involved in this process, they also are not, they also are treated very unfairly. We urge you guys to reconsider when you look at that glass of milk, just like Dr. Shah said, that omelet, that that chicken breast, that steak, to think what actually is that, right? And as they say, a perfect time to start something never arrives. Start now. Start the seed, at least sow the seed. Hopefully this, we sowed the seed of curiosity, and you will hopefully, that will lead to more, and you will start looking at your diet, your food choices with a conscience. So eat healthy and with conscience and consciously the vegan way. Thank you very much. Thank you, Neetu Jindal, and thank you, Dr. Shah. And we meet again.